there, and welcome back to another episode of Cutting Through It. I'm Sherry Brody, your host. So today I want to ask you a question, and I want you to be honest with yourself. What's the conversation you've been having with yourself lately? What I mean is, maybe it's, I'm not good enough. I'm never going to get this. Everyone else is so much better than I am. Or maybe I made the wrong decision. If you've ever caught yourself saying those things to yourself, I want you to know something. You are not alone. The truth is, the hardest conversations we have as hairstylists usually aren't the ones with our clients. They're the ones we have with ourselves. And today, I want to help you change that conversation you're having with yourself. Are you a hairstylist who's working super hard, but you're still struggling with those holes in your books? Maybe you're wondering to yourself, how do I get more clients in my chair? How am I going to build a loyal clientele? But most importantly, how to create the kind of income and freedom that you dreamed about when you first started in this career. If so, you are in the right place. My name is Sherry Brody. I'm a hairstylist. I've been a salon owner, and I am someone who's rebuilt her clientele more than one time. I've made many mistakes along my journey, and I've learned a lot of lessons the hard way. And I've discovered what it really takes to build a successful career working behind the chair. Each week, I will share practical strategies, real-life experiences, and the systems that help hairstylists build confidence, attract the right clients, and create a fully booked chair. If that sounds like you, step behind the chair with me, and let's start building that business that you've been dreaming of. Have you ever looked at your books and wondered, what am I doing wrong? Maybe you're a brand new hairstylist staring at an empty chair. Or maybe you've had to rebuild your clientele after moving salons. Or maybe you've been doing hair for years, but your books still feel like a roller coaster. You have good weeks, then slow weeks, and you're working so hard but not seeing the consistent growth you're hoping for. If that's you, I understand exactly how that feels. I've had to rebuild my clientele several times throughout my career. Most recently, after 27 years behind the chair, I found myself starting over from an empty book. The difference was I already knew it worked. I went from an empty chair to fully booked within 6 months, and I want to share with you the 3 things that made the biggest difference. I can't teach you my entire system in one workshop, but I can show you the 3 foundational things I focused on that helped me build a steady stream of clients once again. I've also included a simple 30-day action plan to help you stop guessing and start taking the right steps towards building a fully booked chair. So if you're tired of worrying about your books, wondering where your next client is coming from, and you're ready to build your business with more confidence, I'd love to invite you to watch my free workshop. Just head on over to onpointhairbySherry.com. That's Sherry spelled Sherri. You'll also find the link in the show notes below. I hope to see you there. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Cutting Through It. I'm Sherry Brody, and today I'm sharing what I feel are like the top 3 lies that we as hairstylists tell ourselves. And I share this from my own experience in my own life as well. I really feel like the way we talk to ourselves is sometimes a lot harder than we even realize. I remember having a friend tell me when I was talking to her, I was really frustrated about something. And she said, "Hey, stop talking about my friend like that." Her insinuating me. Like she was like, "You're talking about my friend who I love in a really bad way." And she really made me be aware of the conversations that I have in my mind sometimes about my own self throughout my whole life. I mean, there's things that happen in our life. Sometimes when we're children, maybe something traumatic happened. Maybe, just we all have stories that came from somewhere, from somebody in our life that said things to us and it stuck. I know as hairstylists, and just from training hairstylists, but just from being in this industry, that we hairstylists, we can be so tough on ourselves. A lot of times we think we're not good enough because, we start to compare ourselves with other people in the room or like in our industry. And we think that everyone else is so much farther along and they're so much better than we are. And I want to share with you that when we when we're learning something new, because I think this is where it really happens when something new comes into our life, when we're learning a new skill, or we're starting at a new salon, or we've had to relocate to another area, or, gosh, even when I started to become an educator, it feels awkward when you learn something new. And you have to work through that awkwardness. And the way you work through that is, number one, you got to tell yourself, just learning, and you got to practice it, and you've got to practice it until it becomes part of you, it gets comfortable, and something clicks in your head, and you're like, oh my gosh, I call those the aha moments, when you push yourself past that self-doubt and you keep going. And then one day it's just like, oh my gosh, it's like all of a sudden this veil is lifted and you just get it. You just get it. And it's so wonderful, because then you've mastered it and you can do it, and then you can recreate it. And then we as hairstylists, that's where we're happiest, right? When we are in control and we are confident and we can be creative and do those things, right? If you're not always growing and learning new things, then you just become stagnant and you become bored. And that's very easy to do in this industry if you don't try new things, because you're afraid of that uncomfortable feeling of learning something new. So I want you to try, instead of saying to yourself, oh my gosh, when you're in that place of learning something new, I'm never going to get this. Try saying to yourself, I don't have this yet. I don't have this yet. You hear the difference in that? I'll never get this to I don't have this yet. That's just you're moving your language into a more positive one. It's crazy how just one word changes everything. And when we start redirecting our self-conscious like that, our subconscious like that, it's crazy how things around you start changing. But the power of attraction, like what we think internally, we actually kind of bring to us. So the next time you catch yourself saying, I can't, I want you to replace it with, I'm still learning. Don't say I can't. All right. On to lie 2. Everyone else is ahead of me. Everyone else is better than me. I call this like comparism. Is that a word? I don't know. My husband's always making fun of me because I am always making up words like ginormous. I don't know. For me, ginormous is a word. It means extremely large. But anyway, I digress. I really feel like when we compare ourselves to others, like for instance, social media, how many times have you gone on social media and you see somebody that is just rocking it? Like they look great. They've got all these followers. They're doing all this stuff. And you think, I'm never going to be that good, ever. I remember one gal, she had like, I don't know how many followers. And it was when I was first learning social media. It was when I relocated out here and I was figuring social media out. I was in that place of like really having to get out of my head and telling me that I'm never going to get it, that I am not ever going to be good enough. And my husband's like, you need to practice what you teach. And I went to this person, I knew her, and I said, oh my gosh, how did you get all those followers? And she's like, Sherry, in the very beginning, you kind of fake it till you make it. And she shared with me that she used a app that she paid for, and they got her followers to begin with. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I remember being so defeated, like, and disappointed at the same time, because here I was comparing myself to her when in essence, she's like, I had to show that I had a lot of following for me to even be noticed. And I couldn't bring myself to do that. But my point to this whole thing was a lot of times we compare ourselves to somebody on social media, but we need to remember that's exactly what it is, social media. And a lot of times it's not as great on their end as you think. And they didn't get there as easy as you thought. And the ones that are successful, they had to work through their self-thoughts too. And you don't know the hard work that got them to where they're at. So next time you compare yourself to somebody on social media, remember my story. Or you're looking around the salon and you see other stylists that are much more successful. Or I know for me, there was a period in my career I was like, I'm never going to be able to dress that cool. Like, I remember with this one gal in particular, still to this day, she just dressed to the nines. There's a couple of them, and they just always seemed so put together. And in my own head, I'm like, I never will look that great. And I remember just, I don't know how long ago, but I had somebody tell me, Sherry, you always look so good when you come to work. You always look put together. And in my own head, I was like, I almost said, really? But I'm like, no, I'm not going to be negative. I just said, thank you. But in my own brain, I never thought of myself like that. So a lot of times we're harder on ourselves than we are, and we need to just stay in our own lane and be the best that we can possibly be. Also, we watch educators that come and, teach us or online, and you're like, how do they ever get there? And you think, am I ever going to be as good as them? And, it's just the comparison thing. And I want to tell you though, like when we compare ourselves, comparison steals your confidence because you're comparing your beginning to someone else's middle. Do you understand what I mean? Like sometimes we're comparing ourselves like to that educator especially, or to the gal in the salon that's rocking it behind the chair and has a fully booked chair and has so much confidence, or the gal on social media who's really doing beautiful work. And you're comparing yourself. You need to be real with yourself about where you're at in your career, because that person may have been doing hair a lot longer and you don't know the journey that they've been on. I want to give you a few things that you can do to really help you get yourself into a better mindset when you're kind of down in the dumps with yourself. And that is, get a pen and paper out. Yep, I'm going to have you do a little bit of journaling, and honestly, make yourself do it. Just try it for at least 2 weeks and see how it helps you. But I want you to think of these things, these 4 things. These will really help you get going. First of all, I want you to think and write down 5 wins that you've had. We all can think of 5 wins, 5 positive things that you did that you were successful at. Next, I want you to think of 5 clients that you've helped. The next, 5 compliments that you've received. And the 4th one is, I want you to write down 5 things that you're better at today than you were a year ago. You will be so surprised on how confidence grows when you remind yourself about how far you've already come. And whenever I've done this exercise, like the other day, I sat down and I wrote down, like I was actually doing my inspiration book. And it was like, how many prayers have been answered for you? And I was like, oh my gosh, I sat there and thought, well, and I was writing. I wrote like 2 pages full. And by the time I was done, I was like, dang, I have no reason to be down. I'm like living my answered prayers today. So it really makes a difference, because a lot of times we get so stuck in our head with these stupid lies and these conversations we have with ourselves that it keeps us from moving forward. So the next lie is the lie 3 is, maybe I made the wrong decision. And I really feel like this lie comes from stepping into a salon situation or environment that you as a hairstylist weren't really prepared for. And so, and when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about, maybe you're renting a chair or you're renting a salon suite and you jumped into it without having a business plan in place, or you didn't have strategies and systems in place on how you were going to sustain yourself and take care of yourself while you were building out your business. A lot of times we as hairstylists, we can be pretty impulsive. We see something we want, or, we see all the dream, but we jump in before having a plan. And this can be one of the biggest reasons why you can get really down on yourself and really feel like a failure. And it's not because you're a failure. It's just because you jumped into something that you weren't ready for. Or you might be in a place where you're within a few years of just starting out or learning, and you're expecting yourself to be busier, and you thought you would be busier. Your expectations were higher than what was really realistic. So I want to share with you that one of the things I want you to realize is that this is where you run in panic mode. And I want to encourage you to stop. and really evaluate and ask yourself some questions. I'm going to encourage you to sit down and write down first, make a list that says, what is working for you now? And be honest about it. Be absolutely honest. Maybe, an example would be what's working for me now is I'm really killing it on my services. I'm getting my retention rate is starting to go up. I mean, little, if it has to be little work wins, then that's okay. But you got to write down what's working, and then you need to write down what's not, and be completely honest with yourself. And then you need to ask yourself how you can improve. And the only way you are going to be able to work through this lie that you're telling yourself that maybe you made a wrong decision, maybe it's not a lie. I guess I shouldn't say put it that way. I guess maybe it's that you jumped in on something that you weren't quite ready for. And I want you to change that around to, how can I make this work? Even if you do make a wrong decision, like for me, I was saying this to myself when I jumped in with my partner. We went and bought a salon. We just bought a salon, and we didn't have the money in the bank. We had to make payments. We didn't have a plan in place at all. All I saw was like, oh, I get to decorate the salon. We're going to get stylists. We're going to be our own boss. Salon suites weren't around when I did this. We just went from commission to this. We didn't even rent a chair. Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, within a few months, I was telling myself, oh my gosh, we made the wrong decision. But what I did was I turned it around, got out of the panic, the situation, and we asked ourselves these questions that I'm asking you to do. And we needed to make a plan, and our plan we needed to get the education. So we hired a business coach. We went and got the coaching. And because we were able to get out of our heads and reframe it and say, all right, how can we make this work? What do we need to do to make this work? And we just put our heads together. We got the education. We put the systems in place, and that business went on to be extremely 7-figure successful salon. We were open 17 years, and it was the best decision we ended up making. So it really wasn't a bad decision eventually, because we made it work. So I hope that these are really making you think. And I want to share something with you that I started doing that has really changed my life. And that is one of the things that I've done that's really helped my mindset is for me, and I'm just telling you, this is what I've done for me, is that I have to, every single morning, I get up, I get my coffee, and I have a special place in my house where I have to spend time with the Lord. I am a Christian, and so for me, I open my inspirational book and I read the Word, and I read, I pray, I journal, and it just gets my heart and my mind right before I enter my day, before I walk into the salon, before I work on my episodes here on this podcast. But it's really made a huge difference on the way I show up every day. And maybe for you, this routine may look different. Maybe for you, like I have a friend, she's a heart friend of mine. She has a special place in her room. Her favorite color is purple. And she has a little corner in her bedroom that she has created. And she reads her book and she prays. And she has really mellow music on. And she just meditates and gets herself into the right place. And after that, she journals. So maybe for you, it might be meditation like that, or journaling, or maybe it's just simply sitting quietly with your coffee and getting yourself in the right mindset and speaking positively to yourself. The point of all this is that don't let the loudest voice you hear each day is that negative one inside your head, because that negative one probably is derived from something that's happened to you, or things that have bad experiences that have happened to you. And it's your subconscious trying to protect you. But if we let those negative conversations and lies run our life, we're never going to attain our dreams. So if there's only one thing I hope that you take away from today's episode, it's this: be careful what you repeat to yourself. Because the words you speak to yourself today become the beliefs that you will carry tomorrow. And those beliefs They shape the hairstylist you're going to become. So choose your words carefully. Give and speak to yourself with grace. Give yourself permission to grow, knowing you're not always going to get it right. And those, my friends, are the times that are the biggest learning lessons we have in our life. So give yourself permission to grow. Remember, you don't have to be perfect. There isn't a single soul on this planet that is perfect. All you have to do is you have to just keep showing up. Stop trying to be perfect and focus on being better today than you were yesterday. And hey, if today's episode helped you realize that maybe you've been feeling stuck or overwhelmed, I'd love to invite you to watch my free masterclass. It's how I teach you on how I went from an empty chair to fully booked in 6 months. And I teach you the 3 things I did that made the biggest difference. You can catch the link of this in the show notes. I'll see you guys in the next episode. I hope this episode encouraged you today and reminded you that you're not alone behind the chair. And if it helped you, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with another hairstylist who may need encouragement too. And remember, success behind the chair is built one client, one conversation, and one day at a time. I'll see you guys in the next episode.